My African people, welcome to this live broadcast. It's a beautiful thing. This is the second live broadcast. As I have told you in the first broadcast, this is the channel with me, Super Nexus, and what is happening here is something very big for each and every African. I want you to follow me on a political level here because we are talking about our people united. We are talking about one thing, and we are not talking about dreams. We are talking about something happening inside the African Union. The African Union, the One Africa government, the One Africa government, something that is already operational, although it's called pilot projects. But there's AfriNet happening, right, which is the African internet running on African infrastructure owned by African institutions, which means none of our data is leaking. And then we have the One Africa Army, we have everything. So what is happening right now? I'm talking about the United Nations. We are talking about the United Nations as Africans. Now there is good news, big good news from the inside diplomats of the African Union, people who talk to African nations on an individual level, who have access to presidents of all over Africa, all over the 55 states that we have in Africa, and also who represent the African Union on a global level, talking to other powers from other continents on our planet Earth. Now, my African people, this which is happening when we say finally Africa, there has been a documented reports and a lot of cases that were reported to the legal system, to the International Criminal Court, and then documents filed to the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations in general, talking about the fact that now, my people, I want to get down to real information. I want to get into real information with you because I have to admit it. Most of us, we are just Africans. We don't really care about the United Nations. After all of these things are not our systems, so we don't learn about them. We don't care about it. We would rather, watch some soccer video rather than understand this political, charged knowledge. But here we're going to break it down simple on our African way. So what are we saying? We are saying there is something that they call veto power, to say if a nation, if a member who is a member of the United Nations, who has got what we call veto power, I think it's 5 nations that holds veto power, so that if the United Nations at whatever point makes a decision to do whatever they want to do, any member who holds veto power, if they think, one member, right, if they think that this thing that is going to be implemented is not good for me on an economic level, because honestly it's all economic, right, it's not going to be good for me on an economic level, they can say no. But talking about that, it feels like justice. Until you realize that the world as it is today, the whole of Africa, 55 nations, 1.4 billion people plus, no single nation amongst us holds that power. So, the African Union, as we speak, through the One Africa government project, which is actually the government that is taking over. It is already operational, but they will say this and that simply because it's about protecting the project from external enemies. Because on a political level, geopolitical level, external enemies are dangerous. And there are always, everybody is about their own interests. China is about their own interests. America, Europe, they are about their own interests so that they can build bigger houses, drive bigger, nicer cars, eat even delicious food. It is as simple as that. That's why they are extracting resources from Africa. I thought we are disconnected for a moment, but now I can see we are reconnected. So let me get deep on this. Let me give you more detail about this, for this is important. Now, the applications to get the veto power as it stands right now from the diplomats inside the African Union, it seems like the United Nations is starting to respond positively, which means anytime Africa might end up having veto power as the One Africa government rather than one individual African nation, but as a whole. And when that happens, that will be something to celebrate. That will be something to teach the idiots amongst us, the foolish amongst us, those who don't understand power and waste our time. Because kings will be established amongst our people for our people, for our identity as the continent. And the foolishness is going to end. So, whilst we on that, let's use our brains and be united. So stay tuned. I see all of you guys live right now with me, watching, putting the likes, the comments. I'm not gonna go through the comments. I'm just gonna end this live on a real level. So